Very hot. I got married 37 years ago. At 37 years ago, I hope you don't mind me eating and talking. But 37 years ago, we didn't have much money at all. I was 19 years old. Just got married, thought I had the world by the tail. But what I used to do is I used to catch 200 white perch, put them in the freezer, and then I would catch 200 mackerel and put those in the freezer. And then in the wintertime, I would hunt rabbits. I would shoot anywhere from 30, 40 rabbits. Sometimes as much as 100, depending on the winter. And that's how I fed me as well as the family. Because, like I said, money was tight. But those were valuable lessons. I learned how to live on very little. Learned where to find food outside of the grocery store. And I think as a country right now, we are finding ourselves in that situation right now. I mean, I don't know how long it will go on. I know in the past the country has lived through it before. The Great Depression, I would imagine World War II, maybe even World War I, who knows. I enjoy history, but I haven't studied that much of World War I. I've studied a little bit of World War II because my grandfather was in the war. But maybe this is a good turning point for a lot of us. That it doesn't hurt to have supplies on hand. I'm not recommending hoarding. That's not what I'm talking about at all. But a few supplies that could back you up for a week or two, a month, 6 months. Dry goods that maybe last a year, your family. I mean, that's not that unheard of to have, at least where I come from. Like I said, when I was 19, 20 years old, it took my fish pole, my rifle, and some common sense to keep food on the table. By eating out of the cast iron pan, my food stays hot. Hotter. And I think that's why I hunt and fish so hard today. And my whole life. I haven't forgotten. I haven't forgotten what it took to make a living back then. That deer rib's awful good. So, you know, I kind of been putting out a couple of videos like this, but I'm only thinking back. You know, my daughter, she checked in with me 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I just said it's uncharted waters. You know, I don't know. Kind of don't know who to believe. Kind of don't know what to think. Time will tell, I guess. Time will tell. But meanwhile, summer is coming for all of us. And if you're in a tight spot and you need, you're having trouble, who knows? You know, who knows where this is all headed. But if you're in a tight spot, dig out your fish pole. Go fish for some of them fish that everybody else won't fish for. You know, they stick their nose up at. Because with a little bit of flour, some basic spices, you can build your own batter. And you can have deep fried fish. You can make your own. I mean, there's some great fish out there that you can get in abundance. One of them here in this state, we call them hornpout. I guess south of here they call them catfish. We don't have the great big monster catfish that you see on YouTube, but they're a foot long, and sometimes you can fill a bucket at night with them, and you can fillet those out, put them in a batter, deep fry them, and they are wicked good. No length limit on them, no limit how many, so you could freeze them up. There's lots of things out there that are easy to come by in the summer months that are harder to come by in the winter time. That's why I say if you're in a tight spot right now, now's the time to be thinking about it. And get yourself a canister of worms and get yourself a pole. If you got to, make a pole out of a tree. You know? White perch is a fish that lives on bottom. If you can get one to bite, you usually can get 30 to bite. And they're a white meat fish, very tasty. Very nice fish. There's nothing wrong with that fish at all. In here is ribs. See that? Doesn't them look good? I did a video a few days ago. It's not up yet, but it will be, on using a pressure cooker to cook your food, cook your meat. And that's how I cooked these ribs the other day. You can pull them bones right out. She'll fall right off the bone. Well, I'm enjoying the heck out of this deer rib. In a minute I'm going to fix the fire, toast it up just a little bit, and I'm going to get going on making a loaf of bread. Yeah, bone come right out. And what you're left with, and these took 20 minutes in the pressure cooker. I think I'm going to need to put them on a plate. Otherwise now I'm going to cut through that tin foil. Make a heck of a mess. We'll get out half of that for now, I guess. brought out some homemade rhubarb jam. That's another thing that's real easy. I put in rhubarb many years ago at the house because there's so much you can do with rhubarb. Now, my main reason for putting it in was because I like strawberry rhubarb pie. So the best way for me, and we have strawberries up here, you can pick them in the spring and the rhubarb comes in at the same time. So having strawberry rhubarb pie is one of my spring activities. But the other thing that you can do with rhubarb is you can make jam. It's easy to make, easy to can, and you can mix it with anything. Crab apples. I talk about crab apples, a wild apple tree. As long as you set aside your rhubarb in the spring, what I do is I gather it up, I put it into the freezer, because I can't cook it all down at the same time anyways. And then when the fall comes around and the apples come in, I don't go to an apple orchard. I go find a wild apple tree. And I have 2 or 3 wild apple trees that produce a really nice apple. A couple of them I prune and kind of keep the brush away from because the apples are that good that are on them. But I can pick a bushel, 2 bushels of apples off them trees for free. And then you take those apples home with you. And I go about 50-50. I do a lot of stuff 50-50, but you take some rhubarb, you take some of them crab apples, and some sugar. There's recipes in the ball book, canning ball book, for just, take their recipe and put your own fruit in. It could be anything from peaches to strawberries to anything. Strawberry rhubarb, that's what I've got today. I've got strawberries and rhubarb. And the other one I really like is peaches. There was a time there when every once in a while peaches would go on sale. So when I found a box of peaches on sale, I would turn that into jam with my rhubarb. So having a rhubarb patch, I realized kind of late to start that because that takes a couple of years. But you can get going on it. Because maintaining a rhubarb patch is nothing. Comes back every spring, all by itself. And, the rhubarb patch that I've got is 5 generation rhubarb patch. Been passed down. It wasn't my family, but it was a rhubarb patch that they were getting ready to destroy because of a business that was coming in. And I was there building the buildings for them buildings. So before the bulldozer got to the rhubarb, Tommy got to the rhubarb. And I brought home every rhubarb plant that I could lug. Every night. I also brought home some horseradish, but the horseradish didn't make it. I would have loved to have the horseradish make it because that's another one of them wild plants that just grows and grows and grows, and you can't stop it once you get a patch going, but mine didn't do too good. But the rhubarb did. So with the rhubarb and this homemade bread, I got homemade jam that will put on that bread. So but these are just ideas. At this point in time, I don't believe the media. Not that I want to get political here, but I don't believe that anything comes out of them. So I think as individuals, we should probably plan ahead. I don't want to scare anybody, but it wouldn't hurt you to have some dry food on hand and be teaching yourself how to cook, whether it be beans, soups. If you don't know how to cook, those meals are pretty simple to do, and they'll sustain you. Well, pretty nice sitting here having lunch at the lean-to. Pretty nice indeed. At the end of this video, I'll put you in some links to more topics about the great state of Maine. There'll be 3 of them. I also have a round circle back there. I'm standing next to a bear. Click that bear if you'd like to subscribe to my channel. Looking forward to meeting you, and come along with me to the state of Maine.